All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastava. The headlines. Government bans Popular Front of India PFI and its affiliates for 5 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's economic and foreign policy attracts global praise at the UN General Assembly session. DRDO conducts successful tests of very short-range air defense system missiles. Nation celebrates 6th anniversary of the surgical strike today. Chandigarh Airport to be named after Shaheed Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary today. Supreme Court allows Election Commission to decide who commands real Shiv Sena in Maharashtra. CBI arrests Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's aide Vijay Nair in connection with the Delhi excise policy scam. 2 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. Kanpur Municipal Corporation bans Pitbull and Rottweiler dog breeds within city limits amid spate of attacks. And in cricket, India to take on South Africa in the first T20 International of the 3-match series in Thiruvananthapuram this evening. And now the news in detail. The central government has declared Popular Front of India PFI and its associates and affiliates as an unlawful association with immediate effect for a period of 5 years. In its notification, the Ministry of Home Affairs said that the PFI and its associates and affiliates including Rehab India Foundation, Campus Front of India, All India Imams Council, National Confederation of Human Rights Organization, National Women's Front, Junior Front, Empower India Foundation and Rehab Foundation Kerala have been involved in the violent terrorist activities with an intent to create a reign of terror in the country. It added that the government is of the opinion that if there is no immediate curb of unlawful activities of the PFI and related fronts, they will use this opportunity to continue its subversive activities, thereby disturbing public order and undermining the constitutional setup of the country. It added that they will encourage and enforce terror-based regressive regime and continue propagating anti-national sentiments and radicalize a particular section of society with the intention to create disaffection against the country. In view of this, the minister said it is necessary to declare the PFI and its associates, affiliates and fronts as an unlawful association with immediate effect. Recently, the National Investigation Agency, Enforcement Directorate and State Police carried out a joint operation at the premises linked to PFI in several states and arrested several PFI leaders and functionaries. At the UN General Assembly session, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's economic and foreign policy has attracted praise from several developed and developing nations. Some of the most powerful voices, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and French President Emmanuel Macron, have referred to Prime Minister Modi's India in a positive light. Countries like Jamaica and Portugal also heap praise on India. While referring to Prime Minister Modi's earlier remarks to Russian President Vladimir Putin, France's Macron was the first one to praise India, saying Mr. Modi was right about the time being not right for war. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in his message to a special India at 75 event, underlined that as home to the largest youth generation in history, India will be decisive in the success of the Sustainable Development Goals. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov explicitly backed India for a permanent seat. Addressing the UNGA session, Mr. Lavrov said that Russia sees India as a key international actor and a worthy candidate for permanent membership within the Council. Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa called for the UNSC reform that should include representation of India, Brazil and Africa continent at the UN Security Council. At the UN General Assembly, Bhutan and Nepal also expressed gratitude to India for supplying COVID-19 vaccines. Under the Vaccine Maitri initiative of the Indian government, more than 250 million COVID-19 vaccine doses have been supplied to over 100 countries.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in New Delhi after attending the state funeral of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Tokyo. Mr. Modi paid floral tributes to late Shinzo Abe at the Nippon Budokan in Tokyo. After participating in the state funeral, the Prime Minister met with the spouse of Shinzo Abe, Mrs. Aki Abe, at Akasaka Palace. Prime Minister Modi also held a bilateral meeting with his Japanese counterpart, Fumio Kishida. The Prime Minister noted the contributions of Shinzo Abe in strengthening India-Japan partnership as well as in conceptualizing the vision of a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific region. The two leaders had a productive exchange of views on further deepening bilateral relations. In Morning Matters, now let us listen to a discussion on India-Japan relations and the role of Shinzo Abe. The participants are Deepa Gopalan Vadva, former ambassador to Japan, and Nulova Roy Chaudhary, journalist.
Narendra Modi ji visited Japan to attend the state funeral ceremony for the former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Prime Minister's visit was a personal opportunity for Modi ji to honor the memory of former Prime Minister Abe, whom he considered a dear friend and a great champion of the India-Japan relationship. During the brief visit, the Prime Minister also met with the current Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Mrs. Abe and conveyed his personal condolences as well as those on behalf of India. Prime Minister Abe was assassinated while on an election campaign tour on July the 8th in the northern Japanese city of Nara. India had declared a day of state mourning for him on July the 9th. Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Vadva joins us to explain what was so special about Mr. Abe that Mr. Modi felt he had to personally go to convey his condolences. Why was Prime Minister Abe so special for India? What was it about his tenure as Prime Minister that made it so memorable for the India-Japan relationship?
Prime Minister Modi, when he met Prime Minister Kishida, he spoke about the very special role that Prime Minister Abe played in strengthening and deepening the India-Japan relationship. He was Prime Minister for 2 terms. One was a very brief term, 2006 to 2007. It was during that term that he came to India. He addressed both houses of parliament, and there, he gave that famous speech on the confluence of the seas, which in a way launched the concept of the Indo-Pacific, which very much involved India in the dynamism of the entire Asian region, including ASEAN and all the way up to Japan and East Asia. So he came back in 2012, and I think it was during that period, he was 4 terms in office. He visited India 3 times. Our prime ministers, as you know, have annual summits. At each meeting, there was something very consequential announcements made at these visits.
So, Mr. Abe and Prime Minister Modi also developed this very close personal bond. They used to follow each other on Twitter as well. So, that particular bond also, I think, really helped the bilateral relationship to flourish enormously. Would that be a correct assessment?
Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Abe went beyond the normal relationship between 2 leaders and had a very special personal bond. I mean, this was so very evident in their interactions. And the entire relationship, one saw that there was a very, very special personal bonding that went beyond the bilateral relationship that we had. And I think this has come out in Prime Minister Modi's very, very obvious, deep sorrow at the loss of his friend, which he expressed, his declaration of a day of mourning at that point of time, state mourning in India. And the fact that he's taken this just not even for 24 hours, for less than 24 hours, to be there at the state funeral of his friend.
Bilateral relationship was upgraded from a general strategic partnership to a special strategic and global partnership in 2014. What exactly is that supposed to sort of encompass? Was it the strategic dimension was more, the defense dimensions became more pronounced?
It was already a strategic and global partnership, so it already had elements of defense and security and so on. When you elevate it to a special strategic and global partnership, you give the sense of comprehensiveness that there is no area that, will be ignored. And that the comprehensiveness includes not only the bilateral elements, but very, very clearly working together in the region and working together on global issues. Prime Minister Modi says that. He said that India and Japan work together to have a global impact. Our cooperation has a global impact. And I think this was very important also in elevating it to a special strategic and global partnership.
Prime Minister Abe's contributions to the bilateral relationship was obviously the fact that India conferred the Padma Vibhushan on him last year would have meant that he traveled to India this year, but sadly, of course, that did not happen.
But he really had a special place for India, and there are a lot of reasons for this. Even when he was not Prime Minister, when he was a Member of Parliament, he had extremely close relations always, not only with the Indian ambassadors, but also he made it a point to meet visiting Indian delegations.
Well, it's one of those sort of tragedies that happen, I guess. It's really quite sad because he genuinely was an absolute well-wisher who wanted very good things to happen to India. Deepa, thank you so very much for all of those insights and inputs that you gave us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilova.
You were listening to the discussion on India-Japan relations and the role of Shinzo Abe. The participants were Deepa Gopalan Vadva, former ambassador to Japan, and Nilova Roy Chaudhary, journalist.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that India and United States have strong interest in encouraging more resilient and reliable supply chains. In a joint press conference with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Washington, Dr. Jaishankar said this requires policy decisions as well as practical measures involving business communities. He added that they discussed the Ukraine conflict, its fuel, food, fertilizer implications, the Indo-Pacific, resilient supply chains, climate change, Agenda 2030, mobility, trusted research and G20. He also stressed on the need to counter radicalization, extremism and fundamentalism. The External Affairs Minister has participated at the U.S.-India Business Council Executive Roundtable in Washington, D.C. In a tweet, Dr. S. Jaishankar said he shared the conviction that stronger business links will further galvanize the relationship. He added that the bullish sentiment on India was on clear display during the meeting.
Union Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Minister Narendra Singh Tomar arrived in Bali on a 3-day visit to Indonesia to participate in the G20 summit. He held separate bilateral meetings with the Canadian Minister of Agriculture, Marie-Claude Bibeau, and Australia Assistant Minister for Trade and Manufacturing, Tim Ayers. In his bilateral meeting, Mr. Tomar extended invitation to both the ministers for the G20 Agri-Summit to be hosted by India next year. The Defence Research and Development Organization has conducted 2 successful test flights of Very Short-Range Air Defence System missile. The test flight was conducted yesterday at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur, Odisha. The Ministry of Defence said Very Short-Range Air Defence System is a man-portable air defence system designed and developed by DRDO in collaboration with Indian industry partners. The missile is designed to neutralize low-altitude aerial threats at short ranges. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has complimented and appreciated the efforts of DRDO and the industry partners.
The nation celebrates the 6th anniversary of surgical strike today. On this day in 2016, the Indian Army had launched surgical strikes against terrorist camps situated in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. 11 days after the Uri attack that claimed the lives of 18 soldiers, Indian Army carried out surgical strikes on the night of 28th and 29th of September 2016, inflicting heavy casualties on terrorists. Indian Army, including the commandos from various units of the Para-Special Forces units deployed in Jammu and Kashmir, carried out raids across the border on multiple targets. With this action, India gave the befitting message that it can strike on terror launchpad by crossing the border if the need arises. Recalling the night of the surgical strike, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in an interview, had said that it was planned as there was a rage building up within him after the Uri attack.
जब उरी की घटना घटी, उस घटना ने मुझे बहुत बेचैन बना दिया था और मेरे भीतर एक आक्रोश था। लेकिन मैं एक लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्था का प्रतिनिधि हूँ। मेरा व्यक्तिगत गुस्सा, मेरा व्यक्तिगत आक्रोश, मेरी व्यक्तिगत बेचैनी, इस पर व्यवस्था पर कभी प्रभाव नहीं होना चाहिए। मैं संतुलन समझता हूँ। लेकिन ऐसा हुआ क्यों, उसके लिए सेना के लोगों से लगातार चर्चाएं की। मैंने अनुभव किया कि मुझसे तो सेना के अंदर आग ज्यादा लगी हुई है। वे किसी भी हालत में इस परिस्थिति में देश के जवानों के मॉरल के लिए भी उनको न्याय दिलाना चाहते हैं। तो मैंने उनसे कहा कि आप पूरा डिजाइन करके लाइए मेरे पास, और मैंने कहा आप जितना भी कर सकते हैं करिए।
In the last Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio, the Prime Minister noted that the anniversary of the 2016 surgical strikes is another reason to celebrate on the 28th of September.
अमृत महोत्सव में हम जिस तरह स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों से जुड़े विशेष अवसरों पर सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं, उसी तरह 28 सितंबर को भी हर युवा कुछ नया प्रयास अवश्य करे। आप सभी के पास 28 सितंबर को सेलिब्रेट करने की एक और वजह भी है। जानते हैं क्या है? मैं सिर्फ 2 शब्द कहूंगा, लेकिन मुझे पता है आपका जोश 4 गुना ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा। ये 2 शब्द हैं सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक। बढ़ गया ना जोश? हमारे देश में अमृत महोत्सव का जो अभियान चल रहा है, उन्हें हम पूरे मनोयोग से सेलिब्रेट करें, अपनी खुशियों को सबके साथ साझा करें।
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Government bans Popular Front of India, PFI, and its affiliates for 5 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's economic and foreign policy attracts global praise at UN General Assembly session. DRDO conducts successful tests of very short-range air defense system missiles. The nation celebrates 6th anniversary of surgical strikes today. Chandigarh Airport to be named after Shaheed Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary today. Supreme Court allows Election Commission to decide who commands real Shiv Sena in Maharashtra. CBI arrests Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's aide Vijay Nair in connection with Delhi excise policy scam. 2 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. Kanpur Municipal Corporation bans pit bull and Rottweiler dog breeds within city limits amid spate of attacks. And in cricket, India to take on South Africa in the first T20 international of the 3-match series in Thiruvananthapuram this evening. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
देश भर में धूम मचाए ज्ञान का ये उपहार, मोबाइल पे आजादी क्वेस्ट आया आजादी का इतिहास। डाउनलोड करे आजादी क्वेस्ट, खेलो जीतो ढेरों इनाम, मौका पाए जुड़ने का रेडियो और डीडी के साथ। सिर्फ खेल नहीं उत्सव है, आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव है, आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव है।
डाउनलोड करें आजादी क्वेस्ट ऐप और पाएं ढेरों इनाम।
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Welcome back. You are tuned to the morning news on All India Radio. Chandigarh Airport will be named after Shaheed Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary today. In his Mann Ki Baat program on Sunday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had announced this while paying rich tributes to freedom fighters. Mr. Modi has said that the decision has been taken as a tribute to Shaheed Bhagat Singh. The Prime Minister had also congratulated the people of Chandigarh, Punjab and Haryana and of the entire country for this decision.
28 सितंबर को अमृत महोत्सव का एक विशेष दिन आ रहा है। इस दिन हम भारत माँ के वीर सपूत भगत सिंह जी की जयंती मनाएंगे। भगत सिंह जी की जयंती के ठीक पहले उन्हें श्रद्धांजलि स्वरूप एक महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय किया है। यह तय किया है कि चंडीगढ़ एयरपोर्ट का नाम अब शहीद भगत सिंह जी के नाम पर रखा जाएगा। इसकी लंबे समय से प्रतीक्षा की जा रही। मैं चंडीगढ़, पंजाब, हरियाणा और देश के सभी लोगों को इस निर्णय की बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूँ। हम अपने स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों से प्रेरणा लें, उनके आदर्शों पर चलते हुए उनके सपनों का भारत बनाएं, यही उनके प्रति हमारी श्रद्धांजलि होती है।
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has bowed to revolutionary freedom fighter Shahid Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary. In a tweet, Mr. Modi reiterated his government's commitment to realize his vision for the nation.
The Supreme Court has said that there will be no stay on the Election Commission's proceedings to decide who commanded the real Shiv Sena, Eknath Shinde or Uddhav Thackeray in Maharashtra. The decision is being seen as a big win for Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's camp. A constitution bench of the Supreme Court headed by Justice D.Y. Chandrachud was hearing the petition yesterday regarding the rift in Shiv Sena that saw the Maharashtra party break into factions led by Eknath Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray. The Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, has arrested Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's aide and communications chief of Aam Aadmi Party, Vijay Nair, in connection with Delhi excise policy scam. He was arrested after questioning at the CBI headquarters in New Delhi yesterday. Vijay Nair is one of the 15 persons, including Mr. Sisodia, named in the FIR. He was arrested for his alleged role in cartelization and conspiracy in allocation of liquor licenses. The CBI has alleged that bribes from a liquor firm owner were collected through Vijay Nair.
In Jammu and Kashmir, 2 terrorists belonging to Jaish-e-Mohammed terror outfit were killed in an encounter with security forces at a Vatu area of Kulgam district yesterday evening. Both the terrorists were the residents of Kulgam district. Incriminating materials, 2 AK-47 rifles and ammunition were recovered from their possession. In another encounter, one Jaish terrorist was also gunned down by a joint team of security forces at Badpora in Kulgam district yesterday. The slain terrorist was identified as Abu Hurrara and he was a Pakistani. In Uttar Pradesh, the Kanpur Municipal Corporation has banned dog breeds Pitbull and Rottweiler in the city limits to protect the public. The decision, announced by Mayor Pramila Pandey, was taken considering increasing incidents of Pitbull attacks. The spate of attacks on human beings was reported in recent days in different cities of the state. In Ghaziabad, a few days ago, an 11-year-old was attacked by Pitbull while he was playing in the park. The bite injuries were such that the boy received 150 stitches on his face. Anyone found rearing either of the 2 breeds in Kanpur will be fined up to 5,000 rupees and their pets will be confiscated, the resolution passed by the Kanpur Municipal Corporation said.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been proverbial storyteller for crores of people across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with a series, Azad Bharat Ki Baat, Akashvani ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through storytelling of All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the story of Make in India, Make for World initiative.
Make in India, Make for World initiative aspires to facilitate investment, foster innovation, enhance skill development and build best-in-class manufacturing infrastructure. It was launched in 2014 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Make in India program is transforming the country into a leading global manufacturing and investment destination. The Prime Minister said this initiative is an open invitation to potential investors and partners across the globe to participate in the growth story of New India.
दुनिया भर के अनेक बिजनेस भारत को सप्लाई चेन के केंद्र के रूप में आज देख रहे हैं। अब हमें मेक इन इंडिया के साथ साथ मेक फॉर वर्ल्ड ये मंत्र को लेकर के भी हमें आगे बढ़ना है। कोरोना के प्रभाव से जल्दी बाहर निकालना आज हमारी प्राथमिकता है। इसमें अहम भूमिका रहेगी नेशनल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पाइपलाइन प्रोजेक्ट की। इस पर 110 लाख करोड़ उससे भी ज्यादा खर्च किए जाएंगे। इसके लिए अलग अलग सेक्टर्स में लगभग 7,000 प्रोजेक्ट की पहचान कर ली गई है। इससे देश के ओवरऑल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट को एक नई दिशा भी मिलेगी, एक नई गति भी मिलेगी।
To attract foreign investments, the government has put in place a liberal and transparent policy wherein most sectors are open to foreign direct investment under the automatic route. The production-linked incentive scheme launched across 14 key manufacturing sectors is also giving a boost to Make in India initiative. The businesses in the country are aiming that the products that are made in India are also made for the world, adhering to global standards of quality. This initiative has substantial accomplishments across 27 sectors, which includes strategic sectors of manufacturing and services as well. The government is focusing on key sectors like semiconductors to achieve the aim of an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Recognizing the importance of semiconductors in the world economy, the government has launched a $10 billion incentive scheme to build a semiconductor display design ecosystem in India. Make in India, Make for World initiative has played a significant role in the country's success in achieving its goods export target of $400 billion. Several endeavors have been undertaken by the government to boost self-reliance in defense sector. Within 5 years, India's defense exports have grown by 334%, and the country is now exporting to over 75 countries its defense products. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, retired former DG Infantry and defense expert, says that the Indian Army has prioritized its procurement from Indian industry and is hand-holding numerous indigenization projects right from design and development stage till the final trial stage.
Self-reliance in defense industry is a must, and primarily how COVID-19 has upset the entire manufacturing scene and also the supply scene, and therefore the need today in the present environment is to be Atmanirbhar. And it is in that context, I think the call that we've taken for indigenous industries to flourish, the corporatization of the ordnance factories, the making of those two defense corridors, one in the south and one in the north, that is one in Lucknow and the other one in Chennai, are steps which have been taken in the right direction, having lots of items in the restricted import list so that there is no import whatsoever, but the need to manufacture everything in India. I think that's the need of the hour.
Complemented by sincere efforts of domestic toy manufacturers, the growth of Indian toy industry has been remarkable in less than 2 years despite COVID-19 pandemic. India is hailed as the pharmacy of the world due to its booming pharmaceutical industry, which is providing life-saving vaccines and medicines at affordable prices to countries that need them the most.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ can be accessed on @AIR News Alerts on Twitter, News on AIR official YouTube channel, News on AIR app, Facebook and Instagram handles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has remembered legendary singer Lata Mangeshkar on her birth anniversary today. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said there is so much that he recalls, the innumerable interactions in which she would shower so much affection. He expressed happiness that today a chowk in Ayodhya will be named after her, adding that it is a fitting tribute to one of the greatest Indian icons.
India will take on South Africa in the first of the 3 T20 internationals at the Greenfield International Stadium, Thiruvananthapuram today. The match will start at 7 this evening.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Supreme Court throws open its door for live streaming of proceedings is the front page story of all the leading dailies. PM Modi pays tributes to former Japan PM Shinzo Abe at state's funeral is the top story in The Statesman. Noted actress Asha Parekh to be conferred the prestigious Dada Saheb Phalke Award, says the Indian Express. And finally, in the first planetary defense test, NASA's DART mission hits asteroid, reports the Tribune.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government bans Popular Front of India PFI and its affiliates for 5 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's economic and foreign policy attracts global praise at the UN General Assembly session. DRDO conducts successful tests of very short-range air defense system missiles. Nation celebrates the 6th anniversary of surgical strike today. Chandigarh Airport to be named after Shahid Bhagat Singh on his birth anniversary today. Supreme Court allows Election Commission to decide who commands the real Shiv Sena in Maharashtra. CBI arrests Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's aide Vijay Nair in connection with the Delhi excise policy scam. 2 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. Kanpur Municipal Corporation bans Pitbull and Rottweiler dog breeds within the city limits amid spate of attacks. And in cricket, India to take on South Africa in the first T20 international of the 3-match series in Thiruvananthapuram this evening. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.